Celia. Dan has the radio program Financial Issues on the AFR Talk Network. Dan's on. He's been covering financial issues for his career, basically. And I wanted to ask him a few questions here about what's going on in Washington and with our economy. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning, Tim. Ed, how are you guys?
Hey, you going? Is it sunshine in Philly today?
No, it's raining, but I sent you a little picture there of the sun. Yes. Yeah,
Thank you. Praise the Lord. It does exist. That's what you're telling me.
Well, you better
not an
look
urban
at the
legend.
You better look at the picture.
Okay. I should know Dan will send me some kind of practical joke picture. I'll have to take a look at that in a few minutes.
Right.
Well, anyway.
But, right now, as we speak, the Democrats are making a proposal. I was just watching a little bit of it as you guys were talking to eliminate the debt ceiling requirement altogether. So the Democrats are doing that right now. That proposal is being made in the Capitol. They're laying out their plan to eliminate the debt ceiling altogether, so they don't ever have to have this debate again.
That's unconstitutional too, isn't it?
Well, it sure is serious. It is the idea that we would just allow, particularly this administration, to give them. I mean, I guess you could say they already have a blank checkbook, but to have no thresholds,
right,
no accountability. Don't forget, we also have no budget,
right,
by which to hold our legislators or this president accountable. So, I mean, it would be lunacy, and I'm sure they are springboarding off the comments made by the Fed on Ben Bernanke on Monday, where he said on Monday he thinks the debt ceiling is ridiculous, that it's unnecessary, that we don't need it, agreeing with Timothy Geithner's comments on that. So I guess they're springboarding off of that and making a formal proposal. It's that's smoke and mirrors, though. That's to get us off, get the Republicans onto something bigger in their mind than fighting the debt ceiling.
Well, that's a great gig if you can get it, though, right? I mean, I'd love to run my household on that same kind of philosophy. I wonder how long I'd get away with it, okay? We have no budget. Mm-hmm. You have blank checks. I remember my daughter one time when she was little asking her mother for a particular toy. She said, "No, we don't have money for it." And she says, "Well, you've got checks." So, and now no debt ceiling. So you just simply say, "Well, look, the sky's the limit. Whatever you guys want to do, we're going to do." That doesn't really happen in the real world, does it?
No, it does not happen. It shouldn't happen in any world, whether it be a political world or the real world. But yeah, it just doesn't happen that way. But it does if you're the United States government or the Japanese government or some of these other, governments that are just spending out of control and printing money out of control. So it does happen here. There is no accountability. We haven't had a budget since 2009, and it's insanity. We talk all the time, and I know you guys, I'm sure, have talked about this. It is up to the American people. It's about we the people. We've got to take this back. We've got to take control. We can't even we don't even have a yardstick by which to measure what we're spending. We can't even line it up to a budget and say, hey, you guys passed a budget saying you were only going to spend. I mean, we've been working with a continued resolution since April of 2009. It's lunacy. And so we can't, I don't know how do we hold them accountable against what?
Yeah.
Other than against common sense, of course.
Yeah. Talking to Dan Celia from Financial Issues, heard on American Family Radio Talk. Dan, I wanted to, without getting too, complicated here, I wanted to, as much as possible, delve into this idea of, or this subject of the debt and who finances the debt. We, the American federal government, we're borrowing money. We all know that. We're spending $1.3 trillion annually, more money than we take in through our tax revenues.
Right.
So that's a fact. That has been a fact since President Obama took office, and even before he took office, we were running a deficit, but not nearly like we are now. By deficit, again, I mean annually what you spend more than you take in. So 1.3 trillion annually, breathtaking number. We can't even fathom it. So we know that. So in order to finance that debt, if you will, we have to have the federal government has to sell treasury bonds. Is that what they sell?
Yeah, they have to sell bonds, debt
Okay.
bonds, treasury
Debt bonds.
bonds. Yep, they have to sell them to anybody that will buy them.
And that person who's buying those, what are they getting out of it?
Well, they're getting a promise that they are going to be paid on a regular basis, whatever that might be, 4 times a year, interest on that. So they're going to get interest payments until that bond matures. When the bond matures, then they get their principal back.
Okay.
So they're being guaranteed an interest rate for 10 years, 5 years, 3 years, 6 months, whatever it is. They're getting an interest payment. That interest payment are the payments that everybody's talking about, that if we don't raise the debt ceiling, we're going to default. We're not going to be able to make those interest payments, thereby going in default. In other words, not living up to the promise that we made to China and Japan and to the Fed, frankly, or to you and I, who may have bought a savings bond or something. All that. We're not going to live up to the promise, and we will be, in fact, defaulting on that.
That's what we keep hearing about.
Yes.
But I want to ask you. Okay, I understand that. So that's how you raise money to finance the government that you don't raise through taxation. That
Right.
Just what you described. I understand that. Okay, now so China and Japan and Germany and some other countries, namely China and Japan, I guess, have thought this is a good investment over the last decade or so. They've said, we want to buy American debt, American treasury bonds, and get the yields, or maybe that's not the term, the interest, and till they mature. It's a good deal. It's a good
investment. If you think the U.S. government is
going to pay it off,
is going to pay it.
Bingo.
Right.
Yeah.
But now, as the debt continues to soar out of control, one day you may not be able to pay that debt. So these countries maybe have said, we're not gonna keep buying this into infinity here. We're thinking maybe we've maxed out here. Now, here's the part I don't understand how this works. Wake up, people. Don't go to sleep on me here. You need to understand this like I need to understand this. Okay, so we have now the Federal Reserve, which is a private entity. It's the banking system in America. In essence, is
Yes.
that what it is? Okay.
Yes.
They're not tied. They're called federal, but they're not tied to the United States government in any kind of regulatory way. Is that a correct statement?
That's correct.
Okay, so we haven't even had an audit of the Federal Reserve. That's what Ron Paul kept calling for.
Right.
So, but yet their name is on our currency. This is it's
Federal Reserve note.
Federal Reserve note, but it's not the government, right?
Right.
I'm still on
Right.
track here.
Yes.
Okay, now, how is it that the Federal Reserve can buy their own money or our own money or our own debt? So that's what. How does this work? It just sounds.
Yeah, does the Federal Reserve, which prints the money, they take that money and then they buy treasury bonds? Is that right?
Wake up, people.
Tim and I have a college degree, okay?
So yes, that's right. That would be right for China, Japan, or anybody else. The Federal Reserve. So when Ben Bernanke says, "Oh, we're not printing money," it's an accurate statement, because the Federal Reserve, when they take on our debt, all they're doing is making a transaction on their balance sheet to add this $1 trillion onto their balance sheet. They're not taking possession of the notes. It's not necessary. They're not taking any kind of possession or needing to print that money, but it does free up the Treasury $1 trillion to spend.
Well, how do they transfer that to their balance? How do they acquire it?
They don't. It's just a. It is just a ledger note that is on their balance sheet. So they have $3 trillion of our debt on their balance sheet. We still technically, the United States of America, is still technically required to pay the interest on that debt.
Well, why do that though?
Why they do that? And the reason, this is a little bit, this sounds like conspiracy, and I've had lots of people arguing with me on this point, but I believe it's got to be true. When they first did their quantitative easing, meaning just that, taking on this debt of the United States of America, when they started doing that, I said that there will be another round, and then and there's going to be another one and another one and another one. The reason for it is our spending is so out of control that China and Japan, just using those because they're our second and third largest debt holder, Fed being number one now. So the China and Japan don't have the desire or maybe the ability to buy as much debt as Geithner needs to pay the bills. They're not going to do it because the spending is so out of control. So I believe, this is the conspiracy part, I believe that Geithner and Bernanke are working together, and basically Bernanke has agreed, has no choice. Somebody has got to buy the debt because we cannot pay our bills. It has to be the Fed because nobody else is willing or able to buy it. So when we're spending these trillions of dollars, we've got to monetize the money, okay? And what that means is somehow the Treasury, in order for the money to be real, if you can call it that, still monopoly money, but in order for it to be real, they have to monetize it. They have to get it into the system. Well, the way that you get it into the system, we used to have a day where we say, okay, we need 300 tons of gold so that we can print this much cash. So we'll just put that cash into the system. Those days are history. So we have to monetize it. The way we monetize it is to issue it as debt. Somebody buys it. So if somebody buys it, then we're able to spend it. We've monetized it. We've got it into the monetary system. Well, we've got more money we need to monetize than China's willing to buy. As a matter of fact, close to $4 trillion more. And the Fed has to take it. They have no choice where the economy's going to collapse. So they keep adding this debt. Now, here's the thing, though. It is very unlikely that the Fed's going to call that marker in. The Fed's not likely to say to the United States, hey, you know what? We need our money. I mean, we need to get this off our balance sheet.
Yeah, because they live here too.
Right. They can't collapse the banking system. They are the banking system. So it devalues. So
it sounds like a Ponzi scheme.
It is.
That's what it sounds like.
It is an intentional. They are trashing the dollar.
Is that why Vladimir Putin calls us hooligans?
Yes, and he's right.
I don't agree with him on a lot of things, but man, when it comes to the monetary and the Fed and everything, he thinks we're doing precisely what you're talking about.
Well, and we criticize China because China's done that for years, manipulated their currency
right
to help their trade imbalance. And Timothy Geithner criticized them, and we're doing the exact same thing. So
amazing. It does sound like a Ponzi scheme. It sounds like you're trying to